Welcome to the Wealth Wisdom, where money has history and knowledge becomes power.
Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the money in your hand, your cash, your digital balances, your savings, is no longer tied to anything tangible. That all the wealth you've built, saved, or inherited exists purely on trust. Now imagine that this detachment from reality didn't happen overnight. Centuries ago, a deliberate choice was made to sever the connection between currency and gold. A choice carefully orchestrated, gradually normalized, and erased from collective memory. The gold standard, once the backbone of global trust in money, didn't vanish by accident. Its disappearance reshaped economies, concentrated power, and redefined what wealth truly meant, all while most people never understood what was happening. Today, we'll trace the origins, rise, and deliberate erasure of gold-backed currency, uncover the hidden motives behind its abandonment, and explore how its disappearance still governs financial systems today. Gold has always been more than a shiny metal. Across civilizations, it symbolized wealth, stability, and trust. In ancient Egypt, Rome, and China, gold functioned as currency, a store of value, and a measure of power. Kings and governments backed coins with gold precisely because it was scarce, durable, and universally recognized. For centuries, gold provided a natural check on human ambition. Unlike paper money, which can be printed at will, gold imposes limits. Governments could not create more gold out of thin air, making inflation nearly impossible to manipulate at scale. And yet, human history shows a recurring desire to circumvent these limits. When we trace the history of money, we find a subtle but consistent pattern. Rulers, bankers, and elites repeatedly devised ways to expand control over wealth, often at the expense of ordinary citizens. The gold standard was both a blessing and a constraint, and it became a problem for those who wanted limitless power over money. The first gold-backed coins emerged around 600 BCE in Lydia, modern-day Turkey. These coins carried intrinsic value, a fixed weight of gold guaranteed their worth. Later, Rome and medieval Europe standardized gold coinage to stabilize trade and taxation. By the 19th century, the gold standard dominated global finance. Nations pegged their currencies to a fixed amount of gold, ensuring stability, predictability, and trust. Trade flourished under this system. Wealth wasn't just paper, it was measurable, tangible, and universally acknowledged. But gold also imposed limits. Governments could not spend beyond their reserves. Wars, infrastructure projects, and social programs required either fiscal discipline or access to additional gold, a scarce and finite resource. Tension emerged. The very stability that gold provided became a constraint for those in power who wanted to expand influence, finance empires, or manipulate economies without oversight. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, global trade expanded rapidly. Industrialization created unprecedented wealth, and nations needed more flexible monetary systems to fund armies, infrastructure, and markets. Gold, while stable, was slow and restrictive. Bankers and policymakers began experimenting with paper money backed by gold, fractional reserves, and banking instruments that amplified credit. The public, conditioned to trust gold, accepted paper as a proxy for real value. For a time, the illusion of wealth creation aligned with gold reserves, and confidence remained intact. World War I accelerated this trend. Governments needed massive funds to wage global conflict. Printing paper money, borrowing from banks, and leveraging gold reserves became the norm. The idea of detaching currency from gold was no longer theoretical. It was a necessity for those in power. Resistance remained. Economists, politicians, and citizens understood the dangers of unbacked currency. Hyperinflation in post-war Germany offered a stark warning. When money is divorced from gold, value can evaporate almost overnight. The interwar period and the Great Depression created the conditions for a permanent shift. Countries struggled with debt, unemployment, and economic stagnation. The gold standard, which once promised stability, now constrained recovery. In 1933, the United States took a decisive step. Citizens were required to exchange gold for dollars at a fixed rate, and private gold ownership was restricted. The government effectively nationalized gold, breaking the public's direct link to the metal. Currency became trust-based, not metal-backed. Globally, other nations followed. By the mid-20th century, gold-backed currency existed mostly in accounting and reserves, invisible to the everyday citizen. The framework of trust shifted. Central banks, not gold, would now guarantee value. The final blow came in 1971, when President Richard Nixon ended the US dollar's convertibility to gold. This Nixon shock decoupled the world's reserve currency from tangible wealth. The gold standard, once the bedrock of global finance, was officially erased from daily life. The consequences were immediate and profound. Governments gained the ability to print unlimited currency, fund social programs, bail out banks, and manipulate economies. But ordinary citizens were now exposed to inflation, currency depreciation, and economic volatility. Trust in money shifted from tangible gold to faith in institutions. Savings accounts, pensions, and wages became vulnerable to policy decisions, financial crises, and global shocks. Inflation, once constrained by gold, silently eroded wealth. This shift concentrated power. Those with access to credit, assets, and financial instruments could benefit from inflation and leverage, while savers and wage earners bore the hidden costs. The erasure of gold-backed currency wasn't just a monetary change. It was a transfer of power from the many to the few. Economists and policymakers have repeatedly tried to recreate aspects of gold-backed discipline. Fixed exchange rates, such as the Bretton Woods system, attempted to tether currencies to gold indirectly. Commodity-backed bonds and reserves sought to anchor value. Inflation targeting and fiscal rules aimed to replicate the stability once guaranteed by gold. Yet each attempt faced the same problem. The modern financial machine is designed for flexibility, leverage, and control. Discipline rooted in gold was inherently incompatible with the growth, debt, and credit structures of today's economy. Every fix either failed or reinforced the systems favoring institutions over individuals. Today, gold exists mostly as an asset class, investment hedge, or reserve. It no longer underpins currency for daily transactions. Governments can print money, create debt, and manipulate credit freely. Ordinary savers, retirees, and wage earners are exposed to inflation, interest rate shifts, and currency fluctuations. Consider these realities. Inflation steadily erodes cash value, while central banks expand the money supply. Global crises, like the 2008 recession or COVID-era stimulus, demonstrate how governments and institutions can inject liquidity, often benefiting asset owners first. Savings accounts and pensions, once meant as security, are vulnerable to the same mechanisms that detach money from gold. Patterns repeat. Those with financial knowledge and asset access gain wealth, while those relying solely on cash or fixed income see purchasing power decline. The deliberate erasure of gold-backed currency created a system that amplifies these effects. Currency without gold is fundamentally trust-based. Understanding this is crucial for protecting wealth and navigating economic systems. The detachment from gold shifted power from the many to the few. Ordinary savers now fuel financial systems they cannot control. Awareness empowers action. By recognizing the dynamics behind modern money, individuals can make informed choices about assets, inflation protection, and long-term planning. Money was once tangible. Gold gave value a physical anchor. Today, currency relies on policy, institutions, and trust. The deliberate erasure of gold-backed currency reshaped the global economy, redistributed power, and left ordinary citizens exposed, often unaware of the system controlling their wealth. Understanding this history is just academic, it's essential. Because the moment you see the invisible structures governing your money, you gain the chance to navigate them, protect yourself, and make decisions that were impossible when gold still ruled your wealth.